Erika Donalds, chair of the America First Policy Institute and founder of Optima Ed. Okay, Erika, great to see you as always here. What an interesting case in Florida. Can you walk us through what stands out to you about it?
Well, not much stands out about this case because as a Floridian and a former school board member in Florida, someone who's fought for the parents' rights bill that was violated here, we saw this happen over and over again. That is why it was so important for Florida to take a stand, lead on the parents' rights issue, and put in law that parents have the right to fundamentally direct the upbringing of their children, whether that means their education or their mental health. We see this as a mental health issue that is being kept from parents. Instead of the teacher disclosing to parents that the student wanted a different name or a different pronoun to have a conversation with the family and bring them into the fold, the teacher took it upon themselves to side with, if you will, the student over the parent and really violate parents' rights and the law.
So that's what happened. So the teacher just went around the parents, scooted around the parents, and just called that student by their preferred name based on what they thought their gender identity was. Did not include the parents. That's against policy there in Florida, and she was let go from that position.
That's correct. And 13 other states have also adopted these laws for the same reason. Parents need to be included.
Brevard School District spokesperson, they put out a statement, and we'll show you that as well. It says, quote, this supports parents' rights to be the primary decision makers in their children's lives. And Florida law affirms the right to be informed. Teachers, like all employees, are expected to follow the law. But it brings me to this point that while there are other states that are following suit in this, obviously Florida's not messing around with this, clearly. But there are other teachers that want to scoot around this, other satellite high schools rallying support of that teacher. What do you say to those people?
I think it's very unfortunate that a longtime teacher like this made a poor decision, but there has to be accountability for this. We cannot allow this type of behavior to run rampant in our schools. Parents trust schools. They send the most precious thing to that school and let go of that child for 8 hours a day. They have to know that the people that they've entrusted with their children are going to follow what they believe at home, their values, but also keep them included when major situations like a child saying, I want to change my gender, I want to change my name. How can you keep that from a parent? It's totally unacceptable. The culture of pushing parents out of the classroom and not including them in these major decisions has to stop. And I'm really proud that Florida has led the way on this.
Right. You know, you've got teachers who would call up a parent saying that the child is falling behind in some of their academic curriculum. Why wouldn't you do the same if they're coming in and saying, I'm a totally different gender, call me something else? I mean, that just seems like an obvious move. And that's why Florida's deciding to do that. Can I ask you about higher level education? Because now we've got this back and forth with some of these Ivy League universities and the Trump administration and federal funding for these universities. Harvard now planning to borrow $750 million of taxable bonds as the school evaluates resources needed to apparently advance research and academic priorities. It comes as President Trump has threatened to revoke billions of dollars in federal aid to the college's responses to anti-Semitism on campus. Is this the right move by the Trump administration?
Well, absolutely by the Trump administration. Unfortunately, the Biden administration chose not to hold the colleges accountable for the violence, harassment, and anti-Semitism on their campus. We're not talking about just freedom of speech. We're talking about vandalism and destabilizing of the university experience for not just Jewish students, but all students. And we all saw it. It's unfortunate that Harvard has chosen, instead of just to follow very reasonable expectations, like not allowing violence on campus, punishing those who are bullying and harassing other students, not allowing them to wear masks to hide their identity, very basic things. Instead of doing that and just agreeing to those parameters, they want to go to Wall Street and borrow money so they can continue this activity. It's really shocking.
It really is. And you think about Harvard, you think their endowment, they've got some money. They need $750 million more to get by after the funding threats. It really is unbelievable. And then it casts a light on maybe tuition's a little high and it continues to escalate. And why is it so expensive moving forward? You're talking about an Ivy League school here.
Well, maybe if they had not changed their admissions practices and removed meritocracy, they wouldn't have to spend money on remedial math at Harvard, and they wouldn't have to borrow so much.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.